Right, so we're just about to start the most enjoyable job on a farm, and that is power washing. Everybody loves power washing, isn't that right? Yeah. Well, it has to be done. I'm probably going to be doing about 4 or 5 days of it here because I have this shed all to wash. I have the calving pens to wash, and I have that shed to wash. That shed hasn't been soaked yet. This one was soaked yesterday evening. Starting to dry out again. It doesn't be long drying, so I need to get at it. But I did a little different the year. I didn't soak it down the way I normally do with the slurry tanker and blowing it across the rails. I did use the slurry tanker, but I used my fire hose that I have here, which I found much better. You don't waste as much water, and it just soaks everywhere. It gets all the walls, all the nooks and crannies. I found it much easier. Them little fire hoses, they're not expensive, and they're very handy as long as you got a fitting on the end to fit this lad right here. You should be good to go. So I've got my tank set up. It's filling now for the past hour. It's only half full there now, so that's going to keep me going. I'm not going to run out of water like I normally do. Sophia's here with me today. Oh, you found the earmuffs. Good job. Couldn't find the earmuffs. We're using the turbo head in the power washer, so it is quite loud. It would damage your ears over a period of time, so couldn't find my earmuffs, and Sophia's after finding them. Now Sophia's here with me today because my other girls are all at cool camps. That's on this week. Sophia couldn't go because of why? Because you broke your arm. So you might mind, I put up a post on Instagram. We're over in Drogheda Hospital. Sophia had a fall and she ended up breaking 2 bones on her arm, just above her wrist. And she didn't actually break them, she bent them. Her arm was literally in kind of a hoop. It looked very strange, but seemingly kids of that age, that's what happens. Your bones can bend rather than snap like ours because we're a little older. And that's what happened to Sophia. It was a long ordeal. She ended up getting a cast up above her elbow, but her cast was removed there a couple of days ago. Her arm, you want to show, is back to normal. Her arm is back straight as can be, and happy days. She just has to rest now for a few weeks. No contact sports, no wrestling, no fighting, and everything should be good. So it's a few days later, and all the sheds now are washed. We'll have a look at this one down here first. That's a very handy thing there to have. Our water supply is quite good here now in this farm. It's poor on the other farm, I said that before. But having this built a couple of hours beforehand That's it. Makes the job so much easier. But anyway, this shed is all washed there now. The roof doesn't really need to be washed in here. It's all right. I only wash the roof every 2-3 years if needs be. I could start to get a little dirty, but it's all right. The little radio is back in. It'll not be long till the cows are actually back in. That time is coming, so the radio is a must. We always run a little radio, as I said before. Calms the cows down, keeps them nice and peaceful. The radio, yeah, is a must. But everything else is cleaned up. I might get a bit of paint now and paint these here. I always put a little bit of paint on the barrier rails every couple of years, and I also paint down where the steel girders meet the floor, just around that area, just kind of give them a wee bit of protection. So that's another thing sometimes I do. But otherwise, it's a good chance to check things over. We have a couple of breaks here on drinkers and things that have to be fixed. And the bracket's there, so on the far side needs to be welded. This one here is leaking a wee bit, as you can see on the floor. So that needs to be solved too, and it just gives you a kind of a chance to look over, give things a check out. Another thing that we are going to have to do when we go in here is these cubicles. They're in since 1997, and they're starting to fail quite rapidly now this last while. Look, we'll get another year out of them. Not touching the year, that's for definite. Just do not have the funding to do that. Maybe next year, or maybe even the year after that. Depending how long we get out of them, we're going to have to get new cubicles for this shed. The reason for that is, look up along the sides here. They're starting to go, actually this one's not too bad, but there's other ones there that are really starting to rot. Just where it goes into the actual ground itself. Now, if you see the rest of these cubicles have the plastic here on these parts, but not up at the top. I can't understand why that is. Why they didn't put it up at the top as well, because that's the only bit that's rusting and rotting. The rest of it's okay, and the cubicles themselves is alright. So I don't understand why at the time that wasn't put on the upper side as well. But my father was in control of it that time, and you know something, we weren't really thinking ahead that much on the cubicles, I suppose, and we kind of overlooked that. But yeah, it would have been nice to have that plastic coating on the upper side as well, because it does seem to protect the cubicles. Before we go over to the other shed, one thing I do want to show you is these mats. I remember talking about mats before, and I just want to give you a real quick rundown of why I like some and don't like others. These are Del Valve mats. I don't know if you can see the print there, but it does say Del Valve. I really like them mats. They're in probably 08, 07, 08, and they went in, and never had an issue since they went in. They've been really good. They haven't actually needed to be adjusted really at all. We did leave a nice bit of clearance, which is starting to fill out now. You can see the odd mat is starting to raise a little bit. But that's easy sorted, just a little angle grinder or whatever, just run it up and leave a little bit of clearance and let them spread out a little bit more. But otherwise, I've been really happy with the way they're wearing. They're very good. There's loads and loads of life left in them. The brackets that came with them were good as well. Kind of sank down nicely. The bolt then wasn't sticking up to hurt an animal's leg or whatever. It sut down into a groove. Stainless steel bolt, you can see there, look, perfect. So yeah, really happy with those. Now I don't know if Del Valve make the same mats. Someone told me it's different now. I have no idea, stuff changes all the time. But I did like that generation that came. We really did get the wear out of them. They weren't overly expensive either compared to other stuff that was out there. I can't for the life remember what we paid, it's too long ago. But I know when I put them up again, other mats that were quite common at the time, there was no real difference in the price. I fitted them myself, so I didn't have to pay a man to fit them, which kind of saved a few pounds as well. But yeah, good mat, they were a good mat. And this house over here has 3 different prime examples of mats that I wouldn't be keen on. Definitely one in particular. Now this shed is washed as well, as you can see. I have to still go up and clean the lights. I clean them with a cloth. If you did put the hose up again then, the water would get in, so it's no harm to run a cloth. You can see there they are black. It does dim the light an awful lot, so I'll go up there with a lather and just clean down the lens. It only takes a short amount of time, makes a big difference on the light. Another thing I did do, and I have done already in this shed, is in painting the girders, as I said before. Just tidying things up. I've painted all the posts around the yard as well. Fleetwood paint, I think it is just a Fleetwood grey, slate grey paint. Hopefully protects it, maybe get a few more extra years out of it by giving it a coat of paint and looking after it. But anyway, the main focus in this shed is these mats. Now we'll start at the bottom because we have 3 different mats in this house. But I'll just show you the difference between them. Now these mats here, I have no idea what brand they are. I bought them locally and they're grand. They're good enough mat. They're rough, or seem to be probably from recycled tyres or whatever. They're in about 5 years now, 4 or 5 years. I can't say too much about them. They didn't come with a bracket, so I had to get brackets made up. Then the bolts set up kind of in the air. which I don't like, but look, it's all right. It's not as good as the brackets that come with the Delaval ones. Well, that did come with the Delaval ones that time, but they are starting to wear. They're a bit hard, a wee bit hard on animals' legs, but I haven't seen any injuries or any real scuffs on their legs. It's just, you know what I mean? They're not just as comfortable as what the Delaval would be. They're certainly a very heavy mat. You can see there, like, they are phenomenal weight. They're a brute to have to put in, especially on your own, and I was glad just to get them 4 in because it was tough work. Skip the ones in the middle because they're, yeah, we'll get back to them. But we're at the very end. These are ones I got in my local co-op. Not the thickest in the world. They're a nice hard rubber mat. I don't know what brand they are. No idea. Again, we had to get our own brackets made, which a lot of mats now you have to, if they're not interlocking. They don't come with brackets and you have to get your own brackets. So them little grooves, them little bubbles that they're obviously designed for grip, they don't need them. A rubber mat shouldn't need grip. All the grip does, and you probably guessed yourself, common sense, will hold the dirt. It holds the dirt on and leaves the mats sticky, and every time you're scraping it down, you're putting more and more muck on, it just dries on and builds up and builds up. And as you've probably seen from earlier on the clip, much harder to wash, but in general, much harder to keep. Cows seem a lot dirtier on this side, so I wouldn't like them. No, I think they hold on to too much muck and dirt and too hard to clean, so they're not a mat I would be particularly keen on. Yeah, they're not wearing or anything, they're not swelling out or anything, they're very heavy, they're well made. It's just, it would have been nice without them knobbles on them. Now, we get into these lovely mats here. So they were left with us here probably in 2011, 2012. We done the whole house with them first. They were the first mat to go in here. I don't know what brand they are, for starters. I don't think you'll get these mats now, so I don't think you have any worries. You'll probably never come across them. I hope you don't. I have no idea what brand they are. Same as the other two, there's no real brands on them. So one thing, if you look closely at these, you'll see holes in them. And these were the best ones that were left. The most of them all look like this. And you might say, Jesus, did they wear away or what happened? Nope. That's actually teat mark. You see all the teat marks there. These mats were that good, the cows ate them. They loved them so much they devoured them. Now, some people might say maybe your animals were lacking a little bit of vitamins when you see them chewing on things like that. And yeah, that's true. That can happen in younger cattle, yes, for definite. But they didn't touch any of the other mats. They didn't touch any of the Delaval mats. They touched nothing else. Only these mats, and it seemed to be pretty quick when they went in, spent the whole time smelling them and then started to devour them. That turned into a very unusual but a pretty big problem. We sprayed chemicals and things onto the mats to kind of discourage the cattle, cows and things from eating at them. It worked a bit. We had to do it every day, and it was a babble of a thing, and it was annoying. So I rung the man, I got them off, and the way I said it to him was I asked him, have you got any of these mats in different flavours? What do you mean different flavours? I said, because whatever flavour these were, the cattle didn't eat them all, only ate about half of them. So if you had a different flavour or something in stock, send it to me instead, because then I can be more sure that they'll eat the rest of them. There's no other way of saying it, they're a disaster. So them there you can live with. Them there you can certainly live with. They're not a bad mat. You can't live with them. Thankfully enough, we didn't have any problems with the cattle stomachs and things from eating that there. But I was worried. I was definitely worried. So they are going to be coming out, and possibly them there with it. Now I have to say the guy I bought them off was really good, and he said, you know what, I'll actually take them mats off you, I'll give you a few pounds for them, and I'll give you a different man in his place. So I never took up that offer. He said that to me last year, but I might get in contact with him again and see can we do something with them. But he was genuine, 100% genuine. This was a different story. He'd be looking probably at Mayo mats or the Easy Fix mat that we have in the other side of the house, because I think they're absolutely brilliant. I don't think them Delaval mats, the ones that we have there, I don't think you can get them anymore. If you did, yes, without a thought in my head I would put them in. Probably do nothing this year. I might just replace these couple here that are badly worn out, these ones here just in this midsection, and see what happens. But that's the story on the mats anyway. Yeah, great stuff. Now a lot of you guys are going to ask me what I wash my shed with. It's better off me telling you now than bothering trying to go back in the comment section, because I know a lot of you will want to know. So the power washer I use is a Hawk 700 if I'm right. It's worn off it. I have it a long time. I think it's a Hawk 700. Correct me if I'm wrong. Some of you will know from looking at it. Well, I think it's about 3,500 psi. Some of them say 4,000 psi, but I think they're around 3,000, 3,500 psi. Absolutely trouble free, never had a bit of trouble with it. The only thing I don't mind is put a 2-to-1 gearbox on it, and that made a good job of it. I put that on donkey years ago because I bought this before the euro came in. I paid about 700 Irish pounds for it, I think at the time. 700, 750 Irish pounds, and it was a treasure to have. Now the one thing I didn't have with it was this reel. This reel is a new thing I've added this year. The pipe can be hard to handle, especially when you have a lot of it. And we were going back and forth to the other farm, and I was having to throw the pipe up into the quad, drop it over, then come back and go over in the tractor with the rest of the stuff. Because there was so much pipe and it was tangled everywhere. I just said, you know what, I will get a reel. At some stage, they are an expensive little bugger. Probably too expensive, but look, very handy to have. And yeah, after a long time I decided I'd get one, because at least with this one, it bolts on to both sides, and you can take it off if you change your power washer and get one similar, or I can make up a bracket to make it fit and put it onto your next power washer. So look, if you look after it, it should do a long time. So that's the power washer. The lance, the lance, in case you want to know, it's standard lance, and all you have here is you have your turbo head, which the rubber fell off, and I haven't a clue where it fell off. It only came off a couple of days ago. But that's the turbo lance, an absolutely great bit of kit to have. It makes power washing out the sheds so much easier. It's less than 100 quid, could be 60 or 70 quid. You could get even cheaper than that online, but a real good bit of kit. Before we end today's video anyway, we're going to take a trip over to our other farm to show you that calf, give you an update on that calf that wasn't well in our last video. So let's get over there now. Do you remember the calf we showed that had symptoms of pneumonia? It was over there, again that gate when we brought it in, myself and Nicole. Well, I want to give you an update on what happened there. So as I said before in that video, what we were going to do was, the plan was to put that calf in, treat it for 3 days, and we showed the medicine and all we used in that video. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check that video out for yourself. But the good news is the calf is 100% better. If you remember the tag number, it was 937. You would have seen that on that video. Is that you heading over to the bucket? It is. There's 37 there now. And as you can see, we get a look at our ear tag, so you know that it is the same calf. There she is. The 37 is 100% better. She's back to full health. Blowing and all that's gone. She's eating meal now. She's forced to the trot, which you like to see. So a good result there. She was quite a popular calf, because believe it or not, I got loads of messages of people telling me that she was on radio stations and she was popping up everywhere. People trying to get an update of what happened with her. I did give an update on her that following Monday after that video was put up. I updated on Instagram and on Facebook on our stories. If you're not following us on Instagram and Facebook, you should, because if you're interested in seeing what happens between the videos and updates and things like this, calves that are unwell and stuff like that, you'll see it all on our Instagram story. But yes, it's a happy ending there. I'm going to be feeding them now, giving them their meal. This morning it's just gone 9:10. It's nice when a calf recovers like that, because sometimes it's not always the case, unfortunately, and you win some, lose some, but it's nice to see an animal recover. Weather is peculiar. It is September and it's very, very warm at the minute. It's very dead, humid weather, just really warm. And then at night time you can get cool, and it's just awkward enough kind of weather for cattle. It's great for grass. We love it. This grass is growing like mad in September. Happy days. It shortens the winter, but it is risky weather with cattle, especially when the temperatures start to drop a little at night. As you can see, the sprayers on the tractor here at the minute. We're not spraying. It's wet today. Hopefully doing a bit of spraying tomorrow, but we're doing a video on that Abbey sprayer. That's going to come up now next, because we have that about 5 years now, and it's something different. You don't see too many Abbey sprayers. I've never seen one other one apart from the one I have, and I don't see much on YouTube either about them. So I'm going to do a wee review on it, and it ain't going to be perfect. There's going to be things that I don't like about it and things I do like about it. I'm going to tell you the whole lot, and maybe if you're looking for a sprayer for next year, it's something you might be interested in watching. Now, one thing that really needs to be done around this shed, and I'd say a lot of you have copped it, is this rough gravel. This gravel was all we could get at the time. It came locally, and it's grand for filling, but to be honest with you, for around a yard like this here, you do need to put something on top of it, because it's quite rough. It is quite rough, and the more it weathers in, the rougher it gets. Some of the stones you see along that wall, they're sharp, they're very big, they're nearly impossible to break. It's just a kind of a blue stone, and it's very, very rough on tyres and tractors and things. That's why I really quit driving the Jeep over here as well. Today I'm going to order a few load of 804, which is kind of a dust with a little bit of grit in it. And we're going to be covering this whole area in 804. We're going to get Jerry back with the Hitachi, and I've asked him to kind of roughen the area up, re-level it all out again, and then put a nice coat of 804 over the whole lot, way down there, in here, and over on this far side, and around where the bales is actually over here. Now, would you remember, if you're watching our second cut being done, them 4 rows of bales that are there would have been from our second cut. And then we didn't actually make a video on our third cut because it was kind of the same thing as when we made our second cut. So I didn't want to really make 2 videos back to back of baling, because there's only so much baling you can look at. There's loads and loads of videos out there. So I didn't bother filming the third cut bales being put in. But there they are. There they're in now. So we got 2 rows, about 70 bales, which I was thrilled with because it only was growing for about 4 weeks. But I wanted to get it cut, and you can see there now, even yourself, that's already growing very well again. It's walking it there again. We'll have loads of grass to keep the heifers and the calves out, hopefully, fingers crossed, for a good while yet. So one thing I did mention on one of my videos not that terribly long ago was a meal bin. We're looking at putting a meal bin over here. Something 4-5 ton, just for summer and winter basically. Something nice and handy that we keep the meal fresh. We didn't want a big bin. We like to keep the meal as fresh as possible, so we don't want to have something that's storing too much. We were weighing up what our cattle normally would eat versus the amount of time we'd be sitting in the bins. So a 4 or 5 ton seemed to be the best option for us. So we narrowed it down to 2 companies, trying to keep it local, one in County Monaghan and one in County Cavan, and not too far away from us at all. And we finally reached a decision this morning. We went with it, we contacted them, and we put the order in. So our new bale bin should be coming to us probably sometime in late October, early November. So Jerry then will dig out an 8 by 8 foot base, concrete base about 7 or 8 inches deep, and get that ready for the bin to go in. So we'll show all that being done. We'll show you the whole process, and you'll see that bin hopefully going in, fingers crossed, late October, early November. Anyway folks, I'll leave it for now. Thanks very much for watching as always. If you haven't subbed, now's the time to do it. Until the next one, talk to you again.